We've heard a lot of Lamar press conferences, and usually he almost swears and then brings it back. This, however, warranted cursing. What happened to your Ravens?
Before I get to that, I got to do something. Hubs, the box.
The box. What's going in the box? I can't even see the monitor.
It's tough, man.
You keep throwing it out?
I'm
No,
going to
it's a
miss.
storage box.
Oh.
It's like if you get fired.
I'm going to miss the Ravens, man. They were exasperating, but it had its highs and its lows, and the highs were high. Bunch of fun.
Were they that high?
Yeah, they were some good times.
Uh-oh, we have more in here.
There's more stuff that we're getting rid of?
Yeah, I just saw it.
What? The Jordans?
I mean, these are fresh, funky fresh.
Maybe like a Sacramento Kings thing if we do it.
Light a beam?
I would never do that to the Ravens.
Wow.
This is going to be the hardest to get rid of.
What?
I mean, I feel bad is for Snoop. Only
can't
person I
keep
feel
the
worse
picture?
for than Snoop is Mark Andrews, and we'll get to that. But
Wow.
Is there anything?
even these, I mean, some good times in these, man. Somebody come get this box.
Bubs.
I can't stand.
Just
I can't even be around.
And
I
toss
can't
a
even be
sandwich
around
in there, Hubs,
yeah.
just for
No,
safety.
no, because we don't have it. For a few
I got
months.
something
It's
for
gonna
the sandwich.
Oh.
I got one more thing to say
Oh, I hope you have a lot more.
to the Bills and Bills Mafia. I've been rough on them this year.
Yeah.
Doubting them, all of that. So, congratulations. And I am going to give the Bills and Bills Mafia props in the greatest way I know how. So to Josh Allen,
Oh, no.
James Cook,
This is a betrayal.
Sean
Don't do it,
McDermott,
bro.
and
Don't do it.
all of you
No.
Don't do
Bills and Bills Mafia.
No.
This is my bet. This is the biggest tribute I could give you.
No.
This is.
I feel uneasy.
I made you a sandwich with chips
Wow.
and, of course, a soda pop.
Wow, big one.
Yeah.
Enjoy, Bills Mafia.
Yeah.
You earned it. I mean, the Ravens helped you out, but
There
you
we go.
earned it. Congratulations.
Yeah.
I've never been had a problem admitting I was wrong, and I was wrong on the Bills.
And who?
And
Brew?
so,
If I'm,
The
I mean,
that you're the Josh Allen guy.
Yeah.
well,
I'm-
you're done with Josh.
I'm not. Hold on. Can we
You
stay
are,
on the
I
Ravens?
wouldn't be surprised if there's a roller coaster
Can we stay,
banner up
guys?
there.
Yeah.
Guys, let's just stay in the
We're
moment.
focused.
Stay, focus where your feet are. Who could have seen this coming? All the hits of ghosts of Ravens playoff pass. A curious game plan. How many designed Lamar Jackson runs? How about zero?
Yeah.
Bunch of mistakes. That defense, with all of its culture, zero big game-changing plays when they made a living
I
on
wasn't
it
hating on the
last year.
defense.
But just nothing to stem the tide. And of course, the inevitable drops, usually by Mark Andrews, not just this game, but historically. And then, of course, 2 or 3 ghastly Lamar Jackson mistakes. And so we'll get to the Lamar because it is the Lamar of it all. But first, I got a question for Baltimore. How's my hair look now? I'm just curious. I'm curious. Jimmy's Seafood and all the podcasts. By the way, all those podcasts that I was invited on.
You better watch messing with Snoop.
that I was invited on that I didn't have time for.
Yeah.
I'm available now if we would like to discuss it. Because, Brou, was this Lamar's worst playoff performance? Absolutely not. Which is kind of part of the concern. Because while he broke his streak of the fewest points they scored all year in a game comes in the playoff loss, he did have 2 such uncharacteristic mistakes early, which put them playing on their back foot the whole game.
Yes. Good.
And
I'm glad you
Ravens
said that.
and Ravens fans and media have sworn all year he's the MVP because look at all the touchdowns and only 4 picks. And in fact, when you look at the tape, when you look at the all 22,
that's true, though.
Well, that's fair.
Right,
I mean, it's regular season.
right,
That's fair.
Right. The 4 picks, none were his fault, which makes that one all the more problematic.
Agreed.
Because it was horrendous. And I know Tony Romo tried to be like Matt Milano. Man, that wasn't Matt Milano. It was a bad play. And Lamar knew it.
Absolutely.
And then the next drive, yes, it's a bad snap, but Lamar recovers from the bad snap and then just sets the ball on the ground. And then the next drive after that, when, again, the game's in the balance, you have a 2nd and goal from the 3 and takes a brutal sack, which ends up leading to 3 points instead of 7 potentially. So yes, Lamar played well in the second half, but they were in this hole and unable to play the game they wanted to play because of those mistakes. And then go, Brou.
Well,
this is just the turnovers graphic, please, and then we can. Yeah. I'll give it to you. It's a nut again.
Yeah.
The last game. Any guesses? The last game Lamar had multiple turnovers. The AFC Championship game against the Chiefs. Went all year without it, and then it happens here. And as much as the allegedly smartest people who cover the internet would like to tell you, it's not a small sample size anymore, and it's not a coincidence. And I'm sorry, that just is what it is.
It's this game, you said what happened to the Ravens. 2 fumbles. 2 fumbles. That was the game to me. And obviously Lamar's, and I'll get to that. A lot of people are focusing on the catch, or the drop, I should say, by Mark Andrews.
Drop, yeah.
The thing is, and obviously I was pulling for the Ravens.
Brou's going to be the only honest Ravens fan in America on this. Well, I know what you're going to say.
And you're not even people that are supposedly neutral aren't bringing this. I do believe the Ravens would have won in overtime.
I agree.
However, there would have been, all that catch would have done is extend the game. It wouldn't have won the game. Buffalo would have had 1:33 with 2 timeouts left. Now again, the Ravens had shut them down. 6 points in the second half is all they allowed. I think they would have stopped Josh. I think the Ravens would have went on to win in OT. But we don't know that.
They would have had to stop Josh and win in overtime.
Right. They may have lost. So that was not the most egregious thing, as bad as it was and heartbreaking as it was. The 2 fumbles by Mark Andrews and then the one by Lamar. The interception was terrible, but they did recover.
Right. They didn't give up points.
They didn't give up points.
Right.
Now, it takes away from you getting points.
Correct.
But it didn't give up points. But the fumble by Lamar that to me was game changing. And I know they were in territory to get at least a field goal.
Yes.
So it was a 10-point swing. And that was critical. Now, I know he played very well. Outside of, I think those 2 plays, obviously taking a sack wasn't bad. I'm not killing for that.
That's fine.
But I think other than the 2 turnovers, which is like saying,
yes, other than that,
I did great I passed all my pop quizzes but failed the final.
Yes.
But he was great outside of that.
And he did recover. He did recover.
But you made a good point that I haven't heard a lot of people say either. When they went down 14-10, now that changes how you play, because if Derrick Henry only gets 2 yards on the first, carry, now you're looking to pass because it's 2nd and long. And if you have a lead, that you feel a little more comfortable running the football. I'm going to say this too, Nick, and this is where, and we'll get to the coaching staff probably a little later, because you hit it on the head. Where were the design runs that they did against Pittsburgh, where Pittsburgh had to guess? Are they giving it to Derrick Henry, or are they running?
This is unstoppable.
We saw
you got to
none
make a
of
decision.
I don't know. And then when it was 1st and goal from the 2, and I'll give Lamar credit because, and I'm sure you'll hit the mental aspect of where he's at. He recovered.
He did.
Those 2 turnovers could have broke him, right?
I know nobody wants to hear it from me today, but it is earnest. I do give him credit for that. It could have been another full-blown meltdown,
ridiculous.
And it was not. I do give him credit for that, but you to me put it exactly right, Brou. Those 2 turnovers set the template for everything that followed. Yep. And again, maybe the Ravens would have won in overtime. I don't think they would have gotten to overtime. Because you're right, they held the Bills to 3 points, but the previous drive, the Bills had gone all the way down the field. Josh Allen's going to get the ball probably on the 30-yard line with a minute and a half, 2 timeouts. Now, maybe Bass misses the kick again, who knows? But
he was good.
Yeah, he was good.
But let me say this about the 1st and goal from the 2. And I put this on the coaches. I would have run Derrick Henry 3 straight times.
Yes.
Now, I know once you went back to pass on 2nd down and get sacked, now you got to start throwing.
I totally agree with you.
But why not put Broussard in and go run it right down their throats? So
Jerry Thornton on Barstool, I clicked on it and said, ooh, that's a good headline, and I want your reaction to it. It's time to admit John Harbaugh is not a good postseason coach.
See, this is what I don't think he's... So, I mean, we can spin. This is where I will just be like, okay, everybody hate me. Greg Roman's the problem. Zay Flowers fumbles the problem. In other quarters, Mark Andrews the problem.
Well, John
now
Harbaugh's
it's
not
John
the
Harbaugh.
Well, we say, the design runs.
John Harbaugh's not turning the ball over. He's not.
Okay.
But the game plan is...
Last year was the game plan. This were a little bit of the game plan.
Okay, but to be fair, then I guess we're going to say Greg Roman was the problem initially. Now it's Todd Monken. So maybe he's bad at picking offensive coordinators, but I had to listen all year. Todd Monken made him the most dynamic.
I'm just saying Harbaugh seems to skate. He just seems to skate.
But this is nobody wins.
Get nailed.
I guess, listen, no. I mean, was it Tony Dungy's fault that Peyton Manning was a different guy? Is it Boone's fault?
But was Dungy running different game plan? And you even said it from the get-go. A shaky game plan. Why?
He threw the ball 25 times. He didn't throw the ball 40 times.
No, I'm talking about the no design
run. I understand that. I don't get it. But I knew it. And this is where I will get a little frustrated. All year long, when we were talking about potential Ravens playoff defeats, we spun a yarn of Lamar's going to play great, and this terrible defense is going to let him down, and Nick, you're going to kill him.
Well, early on.
Then it was Lamar's going to play great, and Justin Tucker, who can't make kicks anymore, is going to let him down, and Nick, you're going to kill him. And now we're here, and Lamar played a brutal first half and then rallied, but it wasn't enough. It was too.
I mean, he had the first touch. It was those 2 possessions that were just...
You're giving him a failing grade on this?
The first half possessions were touchdown, pick, fumble, the sack that took points off, made it to where they couldn't run the ball, and then the kneel down. So, that's a failing down 21 or 10 in a game where you have the more talent, where you're the favorite, and you turn the ball over twice after turning it over 8 times all year. It's a C- game. And so but we've seen, and now it's John Harbaugh. Now we're going to spin the wheel.
No, I'm just saying I'm not putting 100%.
I'm not putting 100%
Lamar, Mark Andrews, however you want to split it. I'm saying Harbaugh, we keep every year something happens.
I think there
and
is
Harbaugh
something
skates
to it.
on it.
And I like Harbaugh. He's had great success. What baffles me, we've always talked about the penalties. That is a lot of times on the coach.
Yes.
They're an undisciplined team. They make mistakes time and time again in all these big games. And I think Lamar, not just him making the mistakes, but maybe they take on the personality somewhat of the best player. I don't know. But I think Harbaugh, with the game plans being I did not understand that at all. And Derrick Henry, we've talked about, and I get it, when you're behind, it's harder to run him. And Justice Hill had some good runs too. But 20 times, he runs 20 times a game. They're 9-0, and they only got him to 16.
Listen, before we move on, this pains me. I don't want to drop this banner. I have no choice. Mr. Consistency, it's demanded. We've seen it before. Regular season GOAT, playoff GOAT. It's James Harden. It's Aaron Judge. It's Peyton Manning. And again, Peyton Manning should give you optimism. All-time legendary guys. First ballot Hall of Famers.
Because I got something to say. Are we moving on to the Chiefs?
And we got to move to the Chiefs.
All right, I'll get to it later.
I hate that one.
I know you do. I know you do. You want to. Next, we're going to blame the quality control guy, not the quarterback.
Meanwhile, I'm going to change my read just from listening to it. Meanwhile, in Kansas City, the Arrowhead Invitational back on. Chiefs win courtesy of Kelsey, a dominant special teams performance, and according to many fans and Texans, some favorable calls. Okay, your reaction as Brou gets rid of his sandwich.
Yeah, listen, I'll just go through the refs thing very quickly. I mean, because Chiefs derangement syndrome is in full effect. I do not think either call was the right call. The first call we see made every single Sunday. When you watch it in real time on the broadcast view, and we'll play it, It's like, oh, Mahomes got clocked in the helmet.
Yep.
I mean, that looks like, oh, that's going to be a penalty. The first replay, you're like, oh, Mahomes got clocked in the helmet. This this one here, you're like, oh, no, he didn't. By the way, it was reviewed by New York. And they said, well, because it was flagged and there was some contact helmet to helmet, they had to leave it. The second one was a bad call. And you can say Mahomes baited him, took advantage of the rules. The rules are the rules. That's fine. It's a bad call. It also was meaningless. They were going to be in 2nd and 6. And if people want to argue that play was the meaningful play instead of the greatest quarterback ever falling down, throwing the ball to the greatest tight end ever for the greatest playoff connection ever, because I love Aikman and Buck. I've sung their praises all year. They were still whining about the officiating when this play happened. And this was an inevitability. So quickly, Brou, before you go, I have a friend here that's going to drop the first banner because the final practice of the season is over. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's game time.
I mean, it is game time. Almost, Andy, if you don't mind, if you could drop that first banner for me. We all knew where this was going. Clinch the playoffs done. Clinch the division done. Host Arrowhead Invitational, now official. One more thing left for the three-peat checklist, Brou.
I'm just fascinated with Almost Andy.
He's the greatest.
Look, I have a hard time getting all hyped up by the officiating because I so wholeheartedly believe the Chiefs are the better team. We all realize that. And I think they would have won anyway. However, those were terrible calls. And the thing is, when you play the Chiefs, whoever you are, but when you play the Chiefs, there is no room for error.
Yeah.
Or errors on your part or errors on the officials' part. That's the thing. And these did, look at Houston played them a lot tougher than I expected. And look at this graphic. I know you know. They outgained them by, 120-something yards. Held the Chiefs to 50 rush yards, more yards per play, better on third down, and dominated time of possession. They played them tough.
How many of those penalties impacted the Texans' offense, which scored one touchdown? How many of those penalties impacted the special teams, which was an abomination?
It changed, on the 3rd and 8, and you're right, they reviewed it in New York. They should have overturned that.
Okay.
That was terrible. And that was momentum changing and everything. That would have forced, a punt? It was third down, would have forced a punt. Instead, the Chiefs go down and they get a field goal. All right, and then in the third quarter, when it's 13-12, is when they hit on Mahomes. And this offseason, they're going to have to do something about the court. Mahomes, he's playing by the rules. But he is so crafty that he's able to use them, whether it's on the sideline or something like that he can benefit from maybe more than any other quarterback. And those dudes they barely touched Mahomes. They hit each other. They hit each other.
I wouldn't go as barely touched Mahomes.
Show it again.
You're talking about the second one.
I'm talking about the second one.
Look at that. A little contact.
It's
football.
Here's what I think. I think that it's a forearm to the head. But I also think Mahomes shouldn't be protected there because he's almost trying to draw it.
He was running. He was a runner at that point.
But Wilds, here's my problem. The refereeing had nothing to do with the fact that the Texans went into a football game where they needed to play an A-plus game.
Correct.
The special teams was a disaster class from the opening play of the game.
Correct.
They scored one touchdown and allowed two. What's the history in the playoffs of you score one touchdown and allow two? You usually don't do well. And by the way, I don't know if this was not on because Will Anderson's like, Coach Ryans told us it was going to be up against us against the refs. Then maybe in the first quarter don't go high on a sack attempt. But regardless, what maybe you should have spent more time on is Travis Kelce. Because in the playoffs, Travis Kelce, and just roll through it, Dust, is the surest thing in sports, as he now has the record for everything except for his second, but Rice in two things. Just the last 6 years during the dynasty run, 1,600 yards. And Mahomes to Kelce, which is why the Chiefs won, is the most prolific combo ever. And so when You let the other team's best player kill you. When your offense is bad, when your special teams are awful, you lose. And when you're not yet ready to win, you blame the officials.
I buy that.
You blame the officials.
I get it, though. I don't think they would have won. I'm not. But those were terrible calls. And there's no room for error against the Chiefs.
That part's true.
So the error was on the refs or on the Texans?
The refs. Both of them were on the refs. You think the Will Anderson hit was a...
I was fine with both calls.
I do think the Ravens had a better case about the officiating
the
because of the defensive pass interference.
If the Texans are correct in what they were saying post-game, that said, and Mitchell Schwartz made this argument, so I'll just elaborate on it, that they knew it was going to be everybody versus the Texans. They knew that the refs were on the Chiefs' side. Then you should go into that knowing we can't do anything even close.
Right. Can't
so
throw
if
our
you're Patrick
helmet on the
Mahomes,
first play.
I've got to go here. If Patrick Mahomes is sliding, I got to be extra sure.
You shouldn't have to feel
But
that.
If they admitted that was their idea.
Right. And I think
so they're lying about admitting about that was their plan,
But you
or they
didn't
didn't follow their own game plan.
So can I say one other thing?
Go.
Because I was mocked Friday on the most to gain list because I talked about Andy Reid and you were like, nobody's going to talk about Andy Reid's 300 wins. And then the very first words out of Joe Buck's mouth were Andy Reid going for his 300th win. So almost, Andy, if we could drop the last banner, please, in honor, well, I guess of you. Go ahead, sir.
Wow, congratulations.
Yeah, and then, almost, Andy, if you don't mind stepping up here, just before we go to break, you know what the audience really liked, Brou?
What?
Your singers. Little known fact, almost Andy, professional singer. Very well known fact, who the actual smartest in the room is. Andy, please.
Nick Wright's the smartest in the room. Nick Wright's the smartest in the room. Nick Wright.
There you go, Andy. Right. Good to see you. See you there on Invitational.
That was both impressive and annoying.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.